gangsters, bad bitches, and your ugly ass friends. I cannot preach, I cannot preach. I gotta show them how a pimp get it in. First, take your sip, do your dip, spend your money like money ain't shit. Ooh, ooh, we too fresh. Got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed. They ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon.
Please take your seats for our closing plenary 2022 Victory Hall of Fame induction and From Fire to Empowered, the history and progress of LGBTQ presidential appointees will begin now. Please turn to Channel 2 for Spanish translation. And please welcome Victory Institute President and CEO, Mayor Anise Parker, to the stage for the 2022 Victory Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
I know y'all are having a good time. I know you're having I can feel the energy in the room, and I certainly saw a bunch of y'all out on the dance floor and at the late night parties last night. And fortunately, I remember my glasses this time. You know, Victory has been around for almost 32 years. We started in 1991. But there were LGBT candidates long before then. But we had a little time on our hands during the beginning of COVID, and something that had been on my wish list for a while began to come together. And that is, we didn't feel that anyone was really adequately capturing the history of the LGBT political or elected leadership in our movement. And I know yesterday when I was talking about the Out for America map, and I said, pull out your phones and get on the map, and y'all better pull out your phones and get on. I have grandkids. I can do the mom look. But this time I'm going to give you a website, and I don't want you to pull your phones out because I want you to stay in the moment. But the website is prideandprogress.org, or you can type in victoryhalloffame.org. If no one else was going to step up, we were going to do it. And we have done our best to capture the major elections, the candidates, the things that moved us in different eras of U.S. history. And there's still some work to do. I'd love to be able to put every elected official that we've ever endorsed, and we have those records somewhere, onto a website, for example. A history of progress, a history of change. But then in 2021, we decided we need to do a little bit better than that and really lift up some of the folks who had made that change, that they weren't just in a narrative of an era or of a decade. So we launched the LGBTQ Victory Hall of Fame to honor LGBTQ elected officials, appointed officials, and candidates who had made a lasting impact on LGBTQ political history. The founding class included Congressman Barney Frank, Supervisor Harvey Milk, Judge Deborah Batts, Rio de Janeiro Councilmember Marielle Franco. U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin has a Lifetime Achievement Award. We could just keep giving her Lifetime Achievement Awards. Enough said about that. But each year in December, we are pleased to induct additional LGBTQ members to honor their contributions and legacy. And there has been not just tremendous change in our status around the world, but tremendous change and tremendous growth in our political power and our participation in the political process across the globe. We still have a way to go, and some of the plenaries, some of the conversations we've been having highlights that, but never, never think that we haven't made progress and that we collectively haven't changed the world. We stand on the shoulders of giants, as we recommit to this work. And it is now my honor to recognize the next 4 inductees into our Victory Hall of Fame. I'm going to ask them to come up and join me, and they're going to slide in, come on in. And I will give you their names as they come up, but they're also going to have a little more formal introduction. So, Tamara Adrián, Ron Oden, Amanda Simpson, and Christine Quinn. Now just sit down. You're good. No. This isn't a panel. They're each going to be invited up to speak, and I'm going to turn away. I don't have Vanna with me, so I'm going to grab one of the awards. Tamara Adrián is a deputy of the National Assembly of Venezuela since 2016. She is a lawyer and human rights advocate. She is Venezuela's first out trans member of parliament. And the second trans member of a legislature in the entirety of Latin America. She has worked tirelessly to increase equity within the country, including working on economic development and food shortages, as well as LGBTQ rights. She is a huge part of the Victory family and comes and joins us every year. We couldn't be prouder to induct our amazing, amazing member of parliament. Tamara. You get to speak. I'm sorry.
No, I have now.
Oh, one at a time.
I thought it was after that. Okay. To say that I am not nervous, that I am not humbly and deeply grateful for this moment will be completely untruth. I am on the point of having some tears out of my eyes in this moment. So if they come out, please forgive me. Back in 2000, maybe 8 or 7, my wife was tired of hearing me every night. Listen, they are doing this and that, they are going to destroy democracy, and you cannot. And then she told me, her name is Maki. We have been together for almost 28 years. And she told me, okay, listen, I cannot do anything except of hearing you, and I'm tired of hearing you that every day doing this and blah, blah, blah. Go out and run for service and do what you have to do outside. Do not complain with me. And I follow her advice. And that's how basically I start to be involved actively in politics. But then I realized another thing. It's that we had been domesticated as LGBTI people as well, persons with disability, black people, indigenous people, women, etc., not to be in power. Therefore, we have to fight in the first time against ourselves and understand that we are no less than anyone else, and that we have the power to overcome and to inoculate in others the power they think they do not have. And each one of you, each one of us is an example to others that we are able to change the world. I'm very grateful to the Victory Institute for this moment. I will like also to say hello and to express my gratitude for their work in organizing and putting all these Latino people here every year. Aleli, on the one hand, I don't know where she is. Marcus, where are you? And I think they have been so helpful in doing this together and creating this team of Latino people running for office in Latin America. And thank you also to them. And finally, I want to express also, or to finish the same way, the favorite singer of my mother, that was a Mexican guy of the 40s or 50s, that was called Pedro Vargas. No, it was Vargas. I don't know the name. No, Vargas. Vargas was the last name. And he finished every time his presentations by saying, muy agradecido, muy agradecido, muy agradecido. I'm going to say exactly the same thing. Very thankful, very thankful, very thankful. Thank you so much.
Next, we will induct Mayor Ron Oden, Palm Springs mayor from 2003 to 2007, the first black LGBTQ mayor of a U.S. city. And also, obviously, the mayor of a city that is near and dear to the hearts of many of us in this room. But he's been a fierce advocate for LGBTQ people in Palm Springs and across the country. And during and after his tenure as mayor, he's been an important leader for racial justice in the U.S. Mayor Oden, let us congratulate you.
There are so many shoulders that I stand on today. And I'm so thankful. About 34 years ago, I went through a very traumatic divorce. And I was so depressed. I had been a well-known orator all over the East Coast and evangelist. And my brother said, look, I am so tired of you being depressed. I got to get you out of the house. And I said, okay. He says, this weekend we're going to Palm Springs. And I thought to myself, well, hell, I'm already depressed. And now you want to take me to Palm Springs? Everyone is old and everyone is white. What's up? But each day as it came closer, I felt an excitement in my life. And as we pulled into Palm Springs, where our visitor center is today, it was the bastardized tramway gas station built by Albert Frey, who is the father of modern architecture. And something about that building spoke to me. And I was a runner at the time, and I jumped out the car and started running up the hill toward the mountain. And my brother's thinking, oh, I'm too late. I'm too late. He's lost it. He pulls down, parks the car, and starts walking up to where I am. And as he's approaching me, he's using very colorful language. He walks up, puts his hand on my shoulder. It says, what's wrong? I turn to him, tears streaming down my face. And I say, I'm home. And I proceed to tell him things that would happen in my life as a result of being there. Everything I told him that day has come to pass. There's a connection. There's nothing more powerful than knowing who you are, that you are where you're supposed to be, and that you're doing what you are supposed to do. The power of that trilogy is absolutely explosive. And when I say explosive, in the Greek, explosion, we get our word dynamite from the word dunamis. And in the Greek, it's written in the active indicative, which means that it's not an explosion, but it's in a constant state of explosion. And that's exactly what happened. I moved to a city where I didn't know one person, and no one in the city knew me. And 4 years later, I was an elected official in that city. One thing I would like to say, when you have this paint job, listen to me carefully, there are always people who will tell you what you can't do. And sometimes it's even our organizations, who somehow manage, and especially if you live on the West Coast, because we don't have traditional communities like they do in the East and in the South. And they ask you, first thing they ask you is, well, what is your constituency? Which, what they're asking is, how many people who look like you will vote for you? Well, that's not the reality for black people who live in the West. It just isn't. But they're still asking the same questions. Don't even try to answer it. Because we have to show that we can legislate on behalf of everyone. And when all is said and done, it is so important to be able to look at yourself. So I'd like to leave you with these closing words. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king or queen for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that guy has to say. For it isn't your mother, your father, your wife, upon whose judgment you must stand, for the fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, and he's with you clear down to the end. And you've passed your most difficult, dangerous task when the guy staring back is your friend. Now, you may be like Jack Horner and chisel a plum and think you're a wonderful guy, but the guy in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. And you can fool the whole world right on down to the end and get pats on the back as you pass. But your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the guy in the glass.
Okay, that's the second time today we've been taken to church. Can I have an amen? Amen. All right. And Ron, if I know you're going to uncork that, I'd probably put you up last. But it was interesting as I was listening to Ron talking about coming to a city where he didn't know anybody and they didn't know him and finding home. Our next inductee is exactly the opposite. I would say she is the quintessential New Yorker, born and bred and raised to serve her city, the most iconic city in the United States. Christine Quinn was a New York City Council member from 1999 through 2013. She remained on the City Council, but she was elected Speaker of the New York City Council from 2006 to 2013. First woman, first out LGBTQ New York City Council Speaker. During her tenure, she promoted important policies grounded in equity, such as making food stamps more accessible, lobbying the state legislature to pass same-sex marriage legislation, working on a variety of initiatives to reduce homophobia in sports. But she's had a lifelong commitment and work on homelessness and housing access, particularly for women. She's always been an outspoken advocate for our community. And as we have said before, she had a very successful political career. She is not defined by the race she lost. She is defined by the life she lived. Christine Quinn.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. And I just want to start by saying, sir, you said you were a well-known and renowned speaker on the East and West Coast. No, sir, not were. You are. And you are now on my list of people to come to events. So just, I want to start by thanking Mayor Parker for all of her work with the Victory Fund and Victory Institute. You know, after ending her terms as mayor, having been comptroller and other hard-working positions in Houston, she had every right to take a break. But no, she took on this challenge of electing more LGBTQ plus people across the country. I want to thank all of the Victory Fund staff. I want to say that if you want to have two feelings, one, wow, the Victory Fund is doing a lot, and wow, I'm not doing enough. Follow Marty Rouse. I have never seen somebody work as hard as Marty Rouse, one of the Victory Fund leaders. He, too, is a longtime New Yorker. So, you know, this award really means a great deal to me because without the Victory Fund, I wouldn't have won any of the races that I won, and the mayor's race that I didn't win wouldn't have been as, you know, well put together, even losing as it was. You know, the truth is, people do go up to you and say, you shouldn't run. When I ran for speaker in 2005, 2006, people constantly, you know, a friend of mine used to call the movers and the shakers and say they were really the movers and the drainers. Well, they would come up and they would say, you know, you can't win. So like a fool, politely, I would say, oh, really, why? And when polite is usually not what I am. And they would say, well, you're a woman. You're a lesbian. And you're from the west side of Manhattan, which in that context was an insult. Now, I knew all of that. I knew all of that when I woke up that morning on West 24th Street with Kim Catullo. You know what I mean? None of it was a surprise. Now, they thought it was a mistake because they believed the most important endorser in that race, an Irish Catholic man, would never support a lesbian. But see, that's what hate and discrimination does. It doesn't only drag down the discriminator, they spread that discrimination and assign it to other people they think are like them. So I and my team, we made a very important decision in that race. We would listen to no one but ourselves. We would have a plan, we would stick to a plan, and we would have fun. And then whatever happened, it was time well spent and service rendered. And that is what this work is about. And I not only won that race, we now have more LGBTQ plus elected officials in New York State than we have ever had before. That is progress. Now, make no mistake, there's still work to do. We just had a gentleman, I shouldn't call him a gentleman, a fool, throwing rocks at a gay bar in Hell's Kitchen. He's been apprehended by the police and charged with a hate crime. The hate crimes law, another result of the work facilitated by the Victory Fund and LGBTQ plus elected officials. So I just want to thank you. It is, and everyone would tell you, this not easy to be an elected official or or a legislative activist leader. But knowing you have a community at your back, even if you don't always agree, is a blessing. And it's strength, and it helps you stand up a little stronger. So 2 quick things. Usually with a Hall of Fame, there's a building. I'm just saying. I'm happy to come back to the ribbon cutting. And 2, often, and I think I speak for all of us, often you're inducted into a Hall of Fame when you're done. I ain't near done, so make a note of that.
Our final inductee, and believe me, each year we've done this, it has been very, very difficult to, I am so sorry, I think that's my phone over there. My wife will turn it off. Thank you, dear. Every year it is very, very difficult to choose nominees because there are great people doing great work and have been for many years. But each year, our board coalesces around a handful of individuals. Our final inductee, Amanda Simpson, is a senior technical advisor in the Bureau of Industry and Security at the U.S. Department of Commerce, 2010 to 2013, executive director of the U.S. Army Office of Energy Initiatives, 2013 to 2015, deputy assistant secretary of defense for operational energy, 2015 to 2017, a former test pilot. She worked in the aerospace and defense industries for 30 years. In 2005, she successfully advocated for Raytheon to include gender identity and expression in its non-discrimination policy. In 2010, she became the first out trans woman political appointee in U.S. history. Amanda Simpson.
I think if there's anything I should say is try reverse alphabetical order next year. I don't know how to follow all of that, and if anything, I'll probably prove that I should never have become a politician. It was about 20 years ago that I had a little time on my hands, and I said, you know what I need to do is I need to give back to my community, and so I'll run for public office. And I geared up and put together this objective to run for the State House of Arizona. And I reached out to anyone I could think of, and it was only the Victory Fund that returned that call. And I became, in 2004, the first ever transgender person that Victory endorsed. Wow. Now, I did go ahead and I actually won the contested primary in my district, but did not win the general election. And I said, okay, fine, I'm done with this. But it was that constant nagging that said, you have to continue. And maybe you won't run again, but maybe you find another way to help out. And so in 2005, and 2006, and 2007, 2008, I helped candidates in Southern Arizona get elected, including the seat that I ran for. And 2008, I was honored to have been elected to represent Arizona at the Democratic National Convention. And it was there that Victory held a little celebration, and Barney Frank and I would argue to the ends of the night. Barney, I love you. We would argue. We would argue in violent agreement, if you know Barney. But it was there that they said, we have this presidential appointee program, and you would be perfect for that. And I said, yeah, right. I'm an aerospace engineer. I'm a rocket scientist. What do I know about government? It's obviously proven I can't win an election. But come February of 2009, my phone rang. And it was the White House asking me to come and serve our country. And I am not one to say no to that kind of request. And so I spent the next 8 years in and out of different organizations, and thank you for listing them all off, and always trying to do what I believed was the best for the American people, and particularly the 6 years I spent in the Pentagon for all of our warriors, all of our service members. And I was very, very, being the first openly transgender person to work in the Pentagon, and then to behind the scenes really change the policy that in 2016 repealed the ban on open transgender service. Because representation matters. Every day I was the equivalent of a 3-star general. And so I would go into meetings in the Pentagon and people would stand up, and I would work with the Joint Chiefs of Staff directly. And everyone not only knew me, but knew my history. And because of that, when the debate began about transgender service, they could look to me, not that I ever wore a uniform, but I could answer their questions. I could make sure that they understood what the issues were, and that transgender people are not a threat to our society, but we want to be contributors. We want to give what we can to society. And we're seeing this debate come back again today with more and more legislation, restrictions being proposed all across not only the US, but across the globe. And we have to stand up and be recognized. We have to be those examples on why inclusion is the right answer. I'm also not done. I'm back in the private sector, but I know that I move my organization today and speak out for others why it is important to move forward. What are the issues that have to be addressed if we are going to be a society for all of the inhabitants? So with that, I say thank you. I am humbled, I am honored to be recognized, and thank you all so very, very much.
We will take this, and I will invite everyone to come forward. If you're willing, please. Forward, you line up together. Thank you. We're going to step off the stage, but again, prideandprogress.org, victoryhalloffame.org. See there more information about them and our other inductees. And remember, it was hard to pick just these 4 because there's so many of us who've done amazing things to change the world. Thank you.